Regardless how a basic income is funded, there are ways to receive the necessary money. From economical point, basic income is possible if it is wanted. Apart from the will, the main question is, are we ready and do we have the possibility to realize the necessity to work, to choose, to decide and to live?
Lecture 8. In this lecture you get acquainted with funding basic income by taxation. First of all, why does a state collect taxes? A state has different common tasks, which cost money. To finance these tasks, the state is collecting taxes, for example to pay for military, police or courts, which guarantees our rights and properties. Also for public streets or general education. There are some states which collect taxes for public insurance and health systems, known as social market economy. But let's have a look where these taxes could be collected for such purposes or basic income. To understand taxation, it is necessary to look to the value creation where taxes occur. A value consists of costs for production. These costs can be divided in production facilities on the one hand, like manufacturing facilities, equipment, tools, charges, and additives, and on the other hand, wages and salaries. The aim of any economic venture is to produce goods or services with the purpose to make profit. In that way, the price of a value is calculated. Productive activities do not aim primarily to supply humans with an income. Payments to workers are just another means of production. But now to taxes. Taxes are cost factors within the value creation, which a company is accounting into the costs of production. Partly there are taxes on production facilities, on wages and salaries, on profit, and the VAT. Because taxes are accounted into the costs of production, a consumer finally pays the tax load if he buys goods. But even if values decay, the state earns these taxes which are accounted into the value creation, for example like taxes on income. How can these taxes be used to fund basic income? At first, there are proposals to use the income tax for funding basic income. For example, Milton Friedman suggested a negative income tax, and in Germany there are transfer limit models which extended the ideas of Friedman. The common of these proposals is that income is taxed and accounted with basic income. These proposals have the benefit that they will not influence the handling of taxes of today. But if the company will find a machine which could work cheaper and maybe better, it will replace a human worker with such a machine. The worker can be fired without bad conscience, because he would have basic income. Another proposal is to use VAT for funding basic income, because human work and therefore taxes on income will shrink. Because tax systems are mostly complex, Götz-Werner suggested to use a sole VAT, because all taxes anyhow are paid by consumers. The handling of VAT should not change. Those who are allowed for input tax education won't pay taxes at all. Independently from Mr. Werner, Matthias Dilthey proposed a model with a gross all-phase tax and called it social sales tax. On the first view, there is no difference between a sole VAT, but just that the consumption tax is divided into a social sales tax and VAT. The social sales tax must be paid always and is not a value-added tax on input. Mr. Dilthey compared this social sales tax with income taxes. Due to that it can be reached that the real production is taxed and not just human income. In this way it is unimportant if work is done by a machine or a human. Lecture 9. In this lecture you get acquainted with some possibilities to pay basic income. But first of all, is basic income fair if it is paid to everyone, even to the rich? Some argue that means tests would enlarge bureaucracy and people with needs could fall through the social net. Others say, Even the rich are part of the society and deserve basic income. But let's have a look to the payment proposals if this question is abundant. Most of us receive from somewhere money. To show vividly the payment of basic income in different proposals, it is useful to take a graph with x and y axis. The x-axis is the gross income, the y-axis the net income. If we do not pay any taxes on income, we get a line, here blue, which can be used to compare the payment proposals. In that case, our net income equals our gross income. If we would have a linear income tax, the red line describes our net income. Everything between the red and blue line is paid as taxes. The proposal of Milton Friedman, a negative income tax, shifts the red line at low incomes over the blue line. In that case, all income tax payers who receive an income lower to the inception point get an income from the tax inspection, even those without any income. All people above the inception point pay the money which is used to finance this system. Similar to this idea, the transfer limit models use income taxes too, but they have a kink. At this point, the income tax changes. This point is called transfer limit and may vary in different proposals. All these shown models can work with an additional basic income too. In that case, the gross income includes basic income, as for example in Alaska, where the incomes from the permanent fund must be taxed. But let's have a look at proposals which do not use income taxes. Basic income is paid additionally to a tax-free income. There are also models which limit the tax-free amount of income, similar to the idea of transfer limit models, but they invert the effect. After the transfer limit, all income, including basic income, is taxed. At least, rich people with a high income level won't receive basic income, but pay taxes. Background for these proposals is that there is a specific amount of work which can be done by one person in a specific time. All additional income, which this person receives not by his own hands' work, is profit through the work of others. This profit should be shared to the society by paying taxes. At the end, it should be mentioned that there is a long dispute what and how should be taxed, as well as for what the taxes should be used. As shown, basic income is one proposal to let all citizens participate at the wealth of a nation. Lecture 10. In this lecture you get acquainted with ideological ideas on basic income.
While lots of owners feared that in communism they will be dispossessed and the poor were given the hope to reach finally the same level as owners, the idea of basic income holds on to the idea that everyone might have property, but further it gives everybody the possibility to get ownership. Stephen Schafferman, an American scholar, wrote in a letter about the situation in the United States.
When Americans are first told about basic income, they commonly ask if it is socialism. Those who are willing to think beyond the labels are often pleased to learn that it would, in fact, operate with minimal government by maximizing individual liberty. Basic income, in the view of many advocates, is a synthesis of the best aspects of capitalism and the positive benefits of socialism. It would give us a market society with an absolute economic safety net for every individual.
John Tomlinson, a social scientist from Australia, answered to the question if basic income is a communistic idea.
No, it's certainly not a communistic idea. It's far short of communism because, as I understand the basic thrust of communism, it's from each according to their ability, to each according to their needs. And basic income doesn't look at the concept of need or ability. It just guarantees people the same amount of money, irrespective of their circumstances. It doesn't demand anything from an individual, but it doesn't prevent individuals making contributions to the society or to people around them or to their town or to their community. So in that sense, it's a much simpler idea than communism, but it's an idea whose time I think has come.
Professor Michael Opielka from Germany speaks in combination with basic income about guaranteeism. Fundamental human rights are guaranteed. Jörg Drescher, also from Germany, calls the ideology behind basic income jovialism, a jovial form of humanism, because the adjective jovial goes back to the Latin verb jovialis. In the medieval time, it was used with the meaning concerning Jupiter, because adjectives like affable, patronizing, benevolent, complacent, generous, amicable, or genial were attributed to the ancient god Jupiter.